The push to the playoffs continues, and we've got two teams right in the thick of it here from Tampa Bay Arena in Tampa, Florida. It's the Minnesota Wild led by Quinn Hughes and the Tampa Bay Lightning led by Brandon Hagel and company. Sit back and enjoy this one as we are underway here from Tampa Bay. The Lightning gain control in center, turn it right back over to Faber, who brings it up for the Wild, fires it on a net, and it's swatted away. Tampa Bay gains control in their own end. An early shot on goal for Minnesota, who comes in 40, 20, and 12 on the season. Tampa Bay 44, 21, and 5. Kaprizov can't handle it. And back out to center comes Tampa. When Hughes takes it away for the Wild, up ahead here is Kaprizov. Cuts inside, tried to get off a shot, couldn't. And now a short-sided try disrupted by Radish on the outside. Yurov pestered into the corner, taken away by Radish from behind. Two early shots on goal for Minnesota to start this game. Good stick by Faber up top. Here come the Wild. Faber fires, stick to side. Goes to the far corner. Yurov there for Minnesota. Comes back out to Radish. And Tampa will get it out. Here's Paul up ahead of the pack. Drops it off for Hagel. A shot goes off a stick. Never got through. Bergeron back behind the net, pestered along the near half wall. Here's Matt Bolding. He gets crunched hard. Turnover. Hagel sends it in, and Gustafsson will stop play. Just over 2 minutes gone by. Already 3 shots on goal for Minnesota, and a huge hit right along the boards to start this game. My goodness. Big hit delivered by Nick Paul. Gets us going here in Tampa. Face-off control by the Lightning. Gunsel couldn't get a clean one off. Another big hit. And now here is Johansson. Centers the Boldy to the slot. Fires off the post. And rebound controlled by Tampa Bay. Back out to center. Another shot on goal for Minnesota to start. Johansson brings it up as he sends it in deep. First guy there is Cirelli for Tampa Bay. Back behind the net, and they battle. Johansson, wraparound, save, rebound. Eriksson Ek denied by Vasilevsky. Five shots on goal for the Wild in the first 2 minutes plus. Lightning gain control in their own end. Here's Holmberg. Holmberg tried to cut inside, disrupted by Hartman. And Hinstroza back out to center ice. Taken off his stick by Crozier. Holmberg button hooks back in his own end, back out to center. Controlled by Middleton. He's pinned along the boards in front of the benches. Bogosian now with the puck for Minnesota, the near side. And up into the Lightning end. Hartman. Centering pass disrupted by Yanni Gourde. And Carlisle will bring it up here for Tampa Bay. Poked on his way in by Bogosian. On this side, it's Hartman who feeds it off the boards up ahead. Tarasenko can't handle it. Crozier gains control for Tampa Bay. Intercepted on its way in by Bogosian. Turns back for the Wild. Bogosian centers a bobble. Hartman squares it up and gloved down by Vasilevsky. No further play with 15:34 to go in the opening period. And Tampa Bay still looking for their first shot on goal. Already 6 shots on goal for Minnesota. Trying it in on Vasilevsky. A 7th shot on goal denied. And another stoppage. Faceoff comes back out to Tampa Bay. Diastis disrupted on his way in, flips to the far corner. Bergeron there, taken away by Bjorkstrand. Here's Paul who squares it up. Good block out in front by Trinan. Here comes Minnesota, 2-on-1 if they hurry. Trinan drops it off. Foligno goes right through the slot. Goes to the far side. Spurgeon back up top to Broden. One-timer, tipped off a body, comes into the corner. Cernak there for Tampa Bay. Paul escapes the pack with it. And the Lightning back out to center with Bjorkstrand. Bjorkstrand pestered on his way in by Eriksson Ek. And Broden Turns it over in neutral. Fed in deep into the Minnesota end. Kaprizov now with it. Here for the Wild. Here's Sturm through center to Urov. Urov cuts inside. Good disrupt on the outside. Comes back out, stays in play, and now goes back out to center ice. First guy on it is Diastis for Tampa Bay. Turned back by Urov. Urov looking for a center. Instead feeds it in around. All the way over to Gunsel for Tampa Bay. Cernak up ahead. Tampa Bay works it in. Urov takes it away from behind. Just over 6 minutes gone by here in the opening period. Still no score here from Tampa Bay. One-timer by Gunsel goes off of a body. Out in front, goes all the way through the crease now. Eriksson gets there. Finally a shot on goal for Tampa Bay. Comes back out to center ice. Bobbled back towards the Tampa Bay end. A little bit of a pause in the action here, but we continue. Bogosian brings it in. Drops it off. Gunsel there for the intercept. And back out to center it comes. Sorelli works it in. Poked to the near side. Taken away by Bogosian. Up ahead, here's Faber. Now Hartman. Hartman brings it in. Fires a shot. Stick aside by Vasilevsky. Battle for it along the near half wall. Hartman to Faber off of Vasilevsky. Down low, Hartman. Out in front, Faber. Vasilevsky holds his ground again. And Crozier feeds it out to Gunsel, who will bring it out of the zone. Sorelli with a bobble. Turns it over to Johansson. Here's Hartman up ahead for Minnesota. Hartman squares it up. Vasilevsky, the save. And they wave off the goal. It was good. It got past Vasilevsky, but they wave it off. They say it's a high stick. And let's take a look. Take a look at his stick compared to the crossbar. That's close. Zuccarello deflects it home off the rebound. They wave it off for a high stick, and we'll get the verdict. Wow, they give it to him. Zuccarello gets credit for the goal, and it's 1-0 Minnesota. On the tip-in by Zuccarello off the rebound. And the Wild strike first here in Tampa Bay. The displeasure to the fans here in Tampa Bay. That was very close to a high stick. I'm surprised they didn't stay with the call on the ice. Johansson fires. Vasilevsky says no. Johansson back out top. Faber now clumped down by Vasilevsky. No further play with 10:56 to go in the opening period. Tampa Bay currently sitting at second place in the Atlantic, 44-21-5. Minnesota third in the Central at 40-20-12. So both of these teams right in the middle of that playoff push, as we've just got a little bit of time left, with almost every team still in the race at some point. Johansson drops it off for Faber, a shot off a body in front. Rebound goes back out wide. Hartman Pindle on the boards. Now Nikita Kucherov up ahead. Cut off as he circles inside. A shot plugged down by Gustafsson. Just about halfway through this opening period. Just the second shot on goal for Tampa Bay. Face-off control by Tampa Bay. Radish gloved down again by Gustafsson. 10:02 to go in the opening period. Face-off once again controlled by Tampa Bay. That one goes off a body. The rebound in the slot. Comes out right wing circle. Back out to the point and Radish. Holmberg on the wing. Back to Radish. Radish inside. Back out. A one-timer tipped around. The rebound goes wide. Gord, one-timer again outside. Smothered by Gustafsson. Minnesota now wins the faceoff in their own end. Hughes feeds it up to Hartman. Now outside Hinstrosa. Big hit on Hinstrosa at the blue line. Jurgensen skates his way around one man. Works it down low. Pindle on the boards. Works it into the trapezoid where Hughes is there for Minnesota. Feeds it back for Faber. Faber pestered behind the net. Hughes gets it out. Tarasenko feeds it in deep around the boards, allows for a change. Carlisle, Yanni Gore to the near side, staying on sides is Girgensons. Centering pass picked off by Foligno. Middleton trying to get it back out to center ice, and he does. Point right back in. Point a shot, gloved down, Gustafsson. 8:10 to go in the opening period. Face-off control by Minnesota. Broden feeds it in. Circles the boards around all the way through. Hipped in by Spurgeon and now taken away. Here's Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov out in front. Gustafsson holds his ground with 7:44 to go. "15 shots on goal for Minnesota, 6 for Tampa Bay, 7:44 to go, opening period. Face-off control by the Lightning. Radish knocked down. Gustafsson sprawls out to find it. 7:38 to go in the opening period. Face-off control by Tampa Bay. Mosier outside. Radish fires. Score! Radish from the top of the slot. And Tampa Bay has tied it. Beautiful shot from the outside. As it just floats its way in past Gustafsson. Nobody touched it out in front. Gustafsson just never saw it coming. Kaprizov with a shield out in front, and he actually shot that one in between the legs of Kaprizov. What a shot by Radish to tie us at one apiece. Face-off in center, controlled by Tampa Bay. Tied at 1 here in the opening period. Paul works it in down low, disrupted by Spurgeon. And it's flipped out of the zone. Zuccarello pesters in center ice, back out to Broden. Kaprizov can't handle it. Tampa Bay back on it in center. Here's Oliver Bjorkstrand. Now James with it to the outside, and Paul. He's disrupted and turns it over to Urov. Here comes Minnesota. Urov might have broke his stick. Nope, it's still intact. Looks in on Vasilevsky, who stops play with 6:34 to go in the opening period. Face-off control by Minnesota. Faber drops it off for Hughes. Works it in. Taken away by Hagel. Here is Gunsel through center for Tampa Bay. Drops it off to no man's land. Faber trying to get it out of the zone, and he will. Here is Johansson. Johansson walks it in. Drops it off to the point. A whiff on the one-timer. Kept alive by Faber. Tipped up and out of play with 5:57 to go in the opening period. Just under 6 minutes to go. Faber blocked out in front. Rebound controlled by Gunsel. And here come the Lightning. Gunsel brings it in wide. Centers himself to the inside. Drops it off for Cirelli. Shot knocked down by Gustafsson. Tampa Bay starting to get some momentum now here in the second half of this opening period. After it was all all Minnesota to start this game. Lightning win the face-off. Cernak on the point. Spins and fires. Didn't get a clean one off. And Minnesota works it into center ice with Hughes. Hughes walks it in. Drops it up to no man's land. Holmberg takes it away for Tampa Bay. Hughes keeps it in. Bolding now. Whiffed on the shot. Good stick. Hughes keeps it alive. Back for Bolding. Back out top Faber. Inside Hughes. Spinner route try. Swatted away by Vasilevsky. Comes to the near side, and Holmberg will bring it back through center ice. Picked off by Zuccarello. Tarasenko back to Zuccarello. Tarasenko, shot denied, Vasilevsky. Face-off controlled into the slot for a moment by Minnesota before Kucherov takes it away. And here he comes. Kucherov tried to cut inside. Good defense by Minnesota. Sturm feeds it in. 16 shot on goal for Minnesota, 9 for Tampa Bay. We're at the 4-minute mark to go in the opening period. Middleton knocked down by Vasilevsky. Comes into the corner. Carlisle is there. Pokes back out to the point. And Tampa Bay gains control. Here's Crozier. Crozier back on it here for Tampa Bay. Works it in. Surrounded by Wild. Taken away by Bogosian. Here is Middleton. Middleton centered. Kaprizov sends it wide of the net. Rebound control by Point off the boards. Zuccarello takes it away to the point. Bogosian walks it in. Tip try in a front. Rebound. Score! Tarasenko in the right place at the right time. And it's 2-1 Minnesota. Vladimir Tarasenko in the right place at the right time on the rebound. And the Wild take a 2-1 lead as Vasilevsky got caught too far out of the net. Look at that wide open goal for Tarasenko. Quiets the crowd once again here in Tampa. 2-1 our score, Wild on top. 19 shots on goal for Minnesota, 9 for Tampa Bay. And it's a 2-1 lead for the Wild. Paul trying to respond, drops it off, and a beautiful save by Gustafsson. And Strosa pinned along the far half wall. Goes in back behind the net. Quinn Hughes there for the Wild. And it comes back out to center ice. Delayed off sides. Everybody tags back up. Paul centers to James. James surrounded by Wild, taken away by Hartman. He feeds it in around the boards. First guy to it is Hinstroza. Tried to send it inside. Good defense by Mosier. Circles back over to Bjorkstrand. Big hit on Bjorkstrand. A turnover. Hinstroza drops it off. One pass too many. Still loose in the slot. Goes just wide of the net. Goes to the far half wall where Paul jumps on it for Tampa Bay. Back out to center. Oliver Bjorkstrand. Center. James out in front. James denied by Gustafsson. Right on the doorstep. And now Quinn Hughes turns back here for Minnesota. Radish now has other ideas. James feeds it in. Circles around to Hagel. Brandon Hagel. Back out to the point. Back to Hagel. To the other side and Radish. A shot. Knocked down by Gustafsson. Hagel inside. A bobble. Working it down low. Holmberg back behind the net. Faber gains control for the Wild. Back out to center. Feeds it in, or at least tried to. He hit his own guy as we're under a minute to go now in the period. Ward will slow walk it in, drop it off for Hagel. Hagel couldn't get a clean one off, and he gets laid out. 40 seconds to go in the period. Hartman up top, Foligno. Foligno pestered on his way in, kept alive by Hinstroza. Foligno now with a bobble back out to center. Delayed off sides on the Wild. Hagel hit hard. 14 seconds to go in the opening period. 2-1 Minnesota. One final push for Tampa Bay if they hurry. Holmberg button hooks back. And they will concede this opening period right here with Minnesota leading 2-1. Entertaining start here from Tampa Bay. And it's the Wild who have the lead. Back here in Tampa Bay, the playoff push continues. We go to the second period here between the Lightning and the Wild. It's Minnesota with a 2-1 lead here in Tampa Bay, off to a hot start in this one. Kaprizov brings it in quickly before it's taken off his stick by Radish. Zuccarello kept it alive. Kaprizov denied by Vasilevsky. Zuccarello back behind the net. Yurov there for the Wild as well. Floats back out wide. Mosier gets there for Tampa Bay. Pindle on the boards. Floats back out to center ice. Kaprizov, Zuccarello turns back in. Zuccarello pestered back behind the net. And back out to center it comes for Kucherov. To the near side and an offside. Point got ahead of the play, and we get a stoppage 57 seconds into the period. Watch out, here might be a turnover chance. Breakaway for Johansson, denied by Vasilevsky. Came in right on net. And Vasilevsky holds his ground. Now Boldy off the pipe. Goes to the far side, controlled by Tampa Bay. Kept alive by Eriksson Ek. Johansson off a body. Boldy now, that one hits off the pipe. Ringers here in Tampa Bay, and back out to center it comes. Here come the Lightning now on the other side. Working it in down low, centering pass picked up by Johansson. Kucherov trying to spin and fire. Never got a shot off. Here comes Boldy, now Hughes. Hughes walks it in. Pestered back into the corner. Big hit on Hughes, turns it over to Kucherov. And back out to center it comes. Here's Paul up ahead of the pack. 2-on-1. Paul denied. Gustafsson goes back behind the net. Circles to the near half wall. Kept alive by Tampa Bay for a moment. And now Johansson back through center ice. Johansson walks it in wide. Sends it in all the way around. Eriksson Ek on the wing. Pindle on the near half wall. Bodies fighting into the corner. Cirelli escapes the pack. Watch out. Eriksson Ek denied. Vasilevsky holds his ground with 16:57 to go in the second period. Off to a very hot start. Just wide. Look how close this one was. Vasilevsky able to get a piece of it, and then he got the cover to stop play. And we'll get a face-off here in the Tampa Bay end. Face-off controlled by Minnesota. A shot tipped just wide of the net. Into the trapezoid. Hinstroza out in front. Score! Got it past Vasilevsky. It's Ryan Hartman. And it's 3-1 Minnesota here in Tampa Bay. Just snuck it through. Right off the inside of the blocker and in. And Minnesota on the attack to start the second period. Crowd quiet again. Good start to the second period for the Wild. Hinstroza and Tarasenko get assists on that goal. Tampa looking to respond. Hagel has it blocked out in front. Penalty's going to be called here. Our first of the game. It's on Minnesota. Extra skater in for the moment for the Lightning. Minnesota touches it, and we get a power play upcoming here for Tampa Bay. Bergeron is called for interference on Brandon Hagel. So a 2-minute power play here for Tampa Bay, trying to get back into this game. They're down by 2 here early in the second period. Face-off control by the Lightning. Bjorkstrand fires off the pipe. Comes to the near side, kept alive. Gunsel now fires. That one goes off a body in front. Still loose. Gunsel. Gustafsson on the doorstep, still alive. Hack and whack in the middle, comes to the near side. Point floats it in along the boards. Middleton gets there for the Wild, and he clears the zone. Floats back out to Bogosian. Turnover. Kucherov denied. Gustafsson. Minute 22 to go on the power play. Power play continues for the Lightning. Hagel just wide of the net. Faber now clears the zone. Hagel back on it here for Tampa Bay. Here is Cirelli, now Paul. Paul drops it off. Diastis, a shot knocked down by Gustafsson. Goes into the corner. Broden gets there for Minnesota, and Hartman will clear the zone. Under a minute to go on the power play. And Vasilevsky will just cover. 50 seconds to go. On the man advantage here for the Lightning, down by 2. Wild win the faceoff shorthanded. Faber off a body in front. Bjorkstrand now up ahead. Kucherov. Numbers for the Lightning. Point into the slot. Off a body and controlled by Minnesota, who clears the zone once more. 30 seconds to go on the power play. Boldy, good defense in neutral ice. Turns back shorthanded. 20 seconds to go. Centering pass disrupted. Right through the crease it comes. And into the corner. 12 seconds to go on the power play. One final push for the Lightning. Guntzel. Points. A shot. Couldn't get it off. And great penalty kill by Minnesota. Back to full strength. Bjorkstrand jumps on it here for Tampa Bay. And here he comes. Up ahead, Points. Lightning changes. Point feeds it in. Off the boards, back behind the net. Zuccarello now works it in their own zone. Here's Broden. Up top, Boldy. Boldy walks it in. Boldy back behind, disrupted by Radish. Radish feeds it up. Gergensons picked off by Zuccarello at the red line. Here's Foligno. Foligno fires a long shot, kicked away by Vasilevsky. And here comes James. Numbers if they hurry. James disrupted on his way in, and a shot denied by Gustafsson. Comes back out to center. They say no offsides. Kept alive by Tampa for a moment. Now Boldy brings it out. Brandon Hagel. Center into James, a shot smothered by Gustafsson. 12:42 to go in the second period. And it's a 2-goal lead for Minnesota here in Tampa. Face-off controlled by Minnesota. They work it in their own end, and now out Kaprizov. Zuccarello got laid out, which causes a penalty. Kaprizov denied Vasilevsky, and now a power play coming here for the Wild. A cross-check is going to be called on Gergensons on this hit on Zuccarello. So cross-checking the call on Gergensons. And a 2-minute power play here for Minnesota to try to add on to their lead. Hartman will face off against Gourde. Hartman wins the face-off. Hughes outside Johansson. Back out to Hughes on the point. Johansson and him play catch. Picked off by Paul. Here come the Lightning shorthanded. Paul feeds it in. Yanni Gourde floats it in on Gustafsson, who will stop play with 1:38 to go on the power play, 12:06 to go in the period. Face-off control by the Lightning. Mosier, Paul, backhander off a body, what a stop! Gustafsson lays out to keep it out. And the short-handed attempt goes nowhere, and this will be an icing on Minnesota. My goodness. Gustafsson somehow find that puck. Let's take a look at this. I don't even know if he was looking or if he just got lucky. Wow. Sprawls out for an incredible pad save off his right side. Minute 23 to go on the power play for Minnesota. They win the faceoff in their own end. Tarasenko trying to split defenders. He does. Tarasenko sticked aside Vasilevsky. Hughes, one-timer. Kaprizov into the glove of Vasilevsky. No further play with 1:05 to go on the penalty. Take a look at Vasilevsky on this breakaway shot. Easy save for one of the better goaltenders in the National Hockey League. Boldy off the face-off. Loose puck in the slot, controlled by Tampa Bay. Picked off in center by Eriksson Ek. Boldy turns back here for Minnesota. Works it down low, out in front, off a body. Zuccarello trying to let it fly, and back out to center it comes. 40 seconds to go on the power play. Short-handed comes Tampa Bay. Carlisle trying to cut inside, and Gustafsson finds the puck. 32 seconds to go on the man advantage. Face-off control by Tampa Bay. Cernak squares it up, and Gustafsson finds it again. Keeps the play alive. Zuccarello up through center to the near side, and Boldy. Zuccarello whiffed. Good stick by Gunsel. Zuccarello, Vasilevsky. 11 seconds to go on the power play. Face-off control by Tampa Bay. Final seconds tick down on this penalty. Hagel drops it off. Cernak, a shot. Sticked aside by Gustafsson. Back to full strength come Tampa Bay, as both teams are now 0 for 1 in the power play. Gergensen's fresh out of the box. Denied Gustafsson. 10:13 to go in the second period. 3-1 Minnesota. "31 shots on goal for Minnesota, 23 for Tampa Bay." Face-off not very cleanly controlled by Minnesota. Here's Sturm. Sturm drops it off for Foligno. Goes in back behind the net, Cernak. Goncalves brings it up. Goncalves looking for his center. Takes it in. One-timer denied Gustafsson. Rebound Middleton. Treinen back out to center ice. And it floats back into the Minnesota end. Race for the puck controlled by Goncalves. Works it in. Drops it off. A shot goes through the crease. Off a body out in front. Foligno gets there. Back out to center it comes. Sturm feeds it in. Over to get it. A bobble. Cernak gains control. Big hit back behind the play. Delayed off sides. Everybody tags back up. Big hit. Bodies flying everywhere as they battle for it along the boards. Floats in towards Vasilevsky. Holmberg up ahead to Paul. Paul walks it in. Paul tried to square it up. Keeps it alive for a moment. Taken away from behind. Eriksson Ek now brings it out. Just over 8 minutes to go in the period. 3-1 Minnesota. Eriksson Ek couldn't get a clean one up. Here's Crozier. Crozier brings it up. Centers to James. Couldn't get a clean one off. Hinstroza takes it away from Minnesota. Floats in back behind the net. Bagasi in there for the Wild. Eriksson Ek now. Feeds it in. First guy to it is Crozier for Tampa Bay. Here's Gunsel. Gunsel pestered on his way in. Taken away by Hinstroza. Just over 7 minutes to go in the period. Fed in deep by the Wild. Ricochets towards Crozier. Now Gunsel feeds it up into neutral ice. Picked off by Bagasian. Gunsel now jumps on it for Tampa Bay. Long time without a whistle here. As these teams go back and forth here in Tampa. Bjorkstrand fires. Save. Gustafsson couldn't handle it. Puck still alive for Bagasian. Hinstroza now. Taken off his stick by Crozier. Back to Bjorkstrand. He walks it in. Bjorkstrand off a body. He got laid out. Middleton settles it down for a moment. Eriksson Ek now through center for Minnesota. Feeds it in deep. Long time without a whistle here in Tampa. Radish turns it over. Hinstroza off a body. Deflects just wide of Vasilevsky. Under 6 minutes to go in the period. Here's Gunsel. A lot of tired skaters out there. James fires, save, Gustafsson. And a stoppage with 5.5 to go. Cirelli will face off against Urov here in the Minnesota end, controlled by Tampa. Mosier to the point, and Radish lets it fly. Tipped around. Into the slot, squirts out wide. Here's Zuccarello. Zuccarello brings it up, centers, a whiff on the shot. Stick from behind by Cirelli. Brandon Hagel drops it off for Cirelli. Now Gunsel with it. Gunsel taken off his stick by Broden. Spurgeon back to Broden. Him and Spurgeon play catch. Hagel now takes it away for Tampa Bay. He feeds it in around the boards. First guy to it is Point. Drops it off for Radish. Squares it up. Gloved down by Gustafson. 4.5 to go. .32 shots on goal for Minnesota, 26 for Tampa Bay. And it's a 3-1 Minnesota lead. We haven't had a goal since the early stages of this period. Hughes trying to get it out, and he will to Kaprizov. 3-on-2 in favor of Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky says no on the outside shot. Face off now here in the Lightning end. Sits on the dot for a moment. Controlled by Minnesota. Hughes off a body in front. Blocked by Radish, I believe, for Tampa Bay. Under 4 minutes to go in the period. Holmberg walks it in. Tried to center and a good stick by Hughes. Zuccarello gets there for Minnesota. Gurov pestered through neutral ice. Drops it off for Faber. Head of steam. Faber cuts to the net. Denied. Vasilevsky. 3:26 to go in the period. Face-off control by Minnesota. Hughes fires, save, Vasilevsky. Cernak jumps on the puck. Here's Holmberg through center. Holmberg centers Gergensen. Couldn't get a clean one off. Faber takes it away for the Wild. Here's Matt Boldy. Works his way around one man and then whipped on the shot. Got it in on Vasilevsky, who knocks it away. Cirelli hit behind the play. Kucherov back through center for the Lightning. Kucherov pestered on his way in by Middleton. Goes off the side of the cage into the corner. And floats back out to Eriksson Ek. Under 2.5 to go here in the period. Still 3-1 Wild. Broden walks it in, trying to cut inside, and Vasilevsky will find the puck. 2:17 to go in the period. Face-off control by the Wild. Broden walks it in off a body in front. Rebound control by Tampa Bay with just over 2 minutes to go. Carlisle with a bobble. Works it in on Gustafson. Back behind the net. Out in front, a bobble. Hartman takes it away from Minnesota. Back out to center. Hinstroza. Looking for the center. Back behind the net. Comes all the way through. Kept alive by Hartman for a moment. He can't handle it. And now Don Calves up ahead. Turns it over. Spurgeon pinned along the boards. Hartman there for Minnesota. Comes out to Tarasenko. Just over a minute to go in the period. 3-1 Minnesota maintains the lead. Battlefield along the boards. Bodies flying everywhere, resulting in a penalty. And it's a cross-check on Hinstroza, and the Tampa Bay Lightning, down by 2, will close out this second period with a penalty. Face-off in the Minnesota end. Power play. Tampa Bay down by 2 as the face-off goes right in on Gustafson. 56 seconds to go in the period. Face-off controlled by Minnesota. Bogosian flips it out. 50 seconds to go in the period for Tampa Bay. Point up ahead, Nikita Kucherov. Picked off by Sturm, who turns back for Minnesota, flips it in deep into the zone. Diastis, first guy there for Tampa Bay. Final 27 seconds to go in the period. Another takeaway and a penalty called. This one on Tampa Bay, and that's going to result in a 4-on-4. Braden Point is going to get called for interference in center. And that's going to make it a 4-on-4 for the remainder of this third period. So that quiets this crowd once again. Final 23 seconds of this period. The 4-on-4 will carry over into the third. Here's Faber up a body. Rebound in the slot, squirts out wide. 15 seconds to go. Hartman denied Vasilevsky. 10 seconds left. Face-off control by Minnesota. Faber outside Broden. Back to Faber. Faber fires off a body in front. Good cut by Radish. And the final seconds will tick down in this second period. Just one goal in the period came early by Minnesota. They lead 3-1 after 2 here in Tampa. Every point matters here in the playoff push. And both of these teams are looking for a huge 2 points down the stretch. Minnesota currently the lead, 3-1. Tampa Bay brings it up. Radish drops it off, picked off by Hartman. So we got a 4-on-4 for 50 seconds, turning in to a Minnesota power play. Hartman on the takeaway, fires, save, Vasilevsky. 36 seconds to go on the 4-on-4 before we get a Minnesota power play. Take a look at Ryan Hartman. Takeaway into the slot, turns and fires, and Vasilevsky says no. He's trying to keep Tampa Bay in this game. Hasn't had a whole lot of success on offense, Tampa Bay has. They're just trying to find a way to get one into the back of the net, perhaps, to get them back in this game. It's been a struggle for them. So 19:33 to go here in the third period. 39 shots on goal for Minnesota, 26 for Tampa Bay. Kucherov up ahead. Here is Cirelli. Backs it off. Downstairs off the pipe, Kucherov. A little too far out in front. Here's Kaprizov. 11 seconds to go in the 4-on-4 before a Minnesota power play. Radish walks it in, flips it in deep. Back to it as Kucherov. Power play starts for the Wild. Radish off a skate. Under 30 seconds to go on a power play before we're back to full strength. Offside, Minnesota. Here's Nikita Kucherov. He was right there on the doorstep, just a little too far out in front past Gustafsson. Ran out of room and bangs it right off the bar. .23 seconds to go on the power play here for Minnesota. They lead by 2 here in the early stages of the third. Carlisle keeps it alive. Picked off by Boldy. Eriksson Ek now drops it off for Kaprizov. Kaprizov, Zuccarello in the slot, pestered by Gord. Kept alive. Hughes whiffed. Still loose. Controlled by Tampa. And back to full strength come the Lightning. Numbers if they hurry. Paul lost it, and it comes in on Gustafsson. Prime opportunity there for Tampa Bay off the penalty kill. As we take a look at Vasilevsky trying to keep Tampa Bay in this game. Crowd quiet, anticipating a Tampa Bay strike to try to get back in this game. They're still down by just 2. Cernak, shot, sticked aside by Gustafsson. Quinn Hughes digs it out of the half wall. Kept on this side, and a shot on net denied Gustafsson. 17:56 to go in regulation. So a faceoff coming here in the Minnesota end. Tampa keeps it alive. Cernak can't handle it, and Tampa Bay has to tag back up. Still back out to center ice. Gunsel walks it in. Gunsel works it in down low, looking for a center. Back out to the point, and Cernak. Good defense by Foligno. He turns back for Minnesota as Tampa Bay changes. The Astis up ahead, Oliver Bjorkstrand. Feeds it in deep as he gets hit hard. Bjorkstrand gets it back, picked up by Sturm on the goal line. And Minnesota works it in their own end and now out with Treinen. Treinen works it up ahead, tried to center it inside, and Vasilevsky finds the puck with 16:49 to go in the third in a 2-goal contest. Face-off control by Minnesota. Bogosian picked off by Holmberg. Back through center he comes. Holmberg works it in, looking for a center, drops it off for Gord. Tipped into Gustafsson with 16:33 to go. Face-off not very cleanly controlled by Tampa. Holmberg outside, Crozier's shot goes all the way through, and Gustafsson finds it. Holmberg out in front, picked off by Bogosian. And back out to center comes Johansson. Johansson inside, hit hard on his way in. Gord takes it away. Here's Gergensen's. Gergensen's tried to drop it off. Eriksson Ek was right there. Here's Bolding. Now Middleton with it across the red line. Middleton surrounded by Lightning. Works it in down low. Out in front, Bogosian. He works it down low. Bindle on the boards by Points. Circles over to Hartman. Keeps it alive. A bobble on the point, and here comes Point. Jailbreak Tampa. Point is in. Denied by Gustafsson, who went out to get it. Tarasenko turns back for the Wild. And here comes Hartman, who's pinned along the boards. Carlisle jumps on it for Tampa Bay. Here's Point. Bogosian takes it off his stick. And back out to center it comes. Here's Tarasenko. Hinstroza sends it in on Vasilevsky, who kicks it away. Carlisle there for the recovery. Circles around out to Crozier. Here comes Tampa Bay. Crozier picked off by Treinen. Bogosian jumps on it for Minnesota. Back out to center it comes. Boldy disrupted on his way in. Middleton up ahead. Here's Boldy. Boldy taken away by Carlisle. And now here comes Brandon Hagel. Hagel centers the Point. He's disrupted to the near half wall. First guy to it is Hagel to the point, and Diastis tried to set it in. Good stick by Bogosian. And now Boldy's up ahead. Cut off on his way in. Had to let the shot go before he wanted to. Watch out, Treinen. Denied by Vasilevsky. 13:10 to go. And what a try there for Minnesota. Face-off control by Minnesota. Roden to Spurgeon. Now Kaprizov tipped around and comes out wide. Radish back through center. Cross ice to Bjorkstrand. Oliver Bjorkstrand works it in down low, out in front. Gustafsson holds his ground with 12:44 to go in the third. Gustafsson has been a brick wall in between the pipes, maintaining this 2-goal lead. He gave up just the one back in the opening period. Faceoff coming in the Minnesota end, controlled by Tampa. Radish works it outside, tipped wide of the net. Comes to the near side, Urov there. Battle for it along the boards. Mosier, Hagel, Radish, a shot off the bar. Another one rings off the pipe. Hagel, Cirelli knocked down by Gustafsson. Into the corner. Kept alive. On the doorstep, Gunsel whiffed. Back out to Mosier. He whiffed. Gunsel back with it. Inside. Hack and whack in the middle. Controlled by Minnesota, and they clear. Kaprizov. Pestered from behind. Keeps it alive. Mosier turns back here for Tampa Bay. Numbers if they hurry. Gunsel to Cirelli, who couldn't get a clean one off. Good transition defense by Minnesota. Picked off in center by Hagel as Tampa Bay changes. And now Minnesota changes as well. Cirelli walks it in, picked off by Spurgeon. Hagel, Bjorkstrand, denied Gustafsson. And Tarasenko back out to center, takes it away by Mosier. Here's Bjorkstrand who feeds it in. Minnesota is playing some incredible defense in this game. A turnover, tipped in the air, loose puck. Hack and whack, floats out wide. Eriksson Ek jumps on it for Minnesota. Another takeaway. Radish outside, Diastis. Ferguson sends it in. Tarasenko says no. And Hinstroza back out to center ice. Godkovs spins his way out to Radish. A shot off the body in front. Still loose in the slot, floats out wide. Johansson jumps on it for Minnesota as we're over halfway through this third period. Zuccarello with a bobble resulting in an offside. Darren Radish squared it up from outside and bangs it right off the bar once again for Tampa Bay. Just oh so close for the Lightning multiple times in the second half of this game. And they just cannot find the back of the net. Face-off control by Tampa Bay. We're over halfway through this third period in a 2-goal game. Holmberg hit hard, kept alive by Gord, cuts inside, Gord just wide off of Gustafsson. Treinen gains control off the boards up ahead, Foligno ahead of the pack, denied Vasilevsky. Holmberg jumps on it for Tampa, back out to center, Yanni Gord. Gord feeds it in. Deflects off to the wall to Faber. Here's Foligno who will slow things down for a moment. Brings it up though, Treinen. Wide of the net, Vasilevsky, the rebound off the boards, covers with 9 minutes to play in regulation. Vasilevsky doing his best to keep Tampa Bay in this game. Looking to get some help from the offense on the other end. Nine minutes to play here in the third. Face-off controlled by Tampa. Penalty is going to be called here on Minnesota. That's a huge penalty here in this third. And they'll bring an extra skater in for Tampa. Point up ahead to Gunsel. 6 skaters in for the Lightning. Gunsel. Pass goes all the way through the crease, and Treinen will touch it. But a power play upcoming here for Tampa Bay. Down by 2. Marcus Foligno gets called for the cross-check. So a huge power play here for Tampa Bay to try to cut it to 1 here in the third period. Face-off control by the Wild. Middleton flips it out of the zone. Bjorkstrand jumps on it for Tampa Bay. Here's Cirelli, outside Paul. Paul inside, picked off by Johansson down the slot. And Middleton back out to center ice for the Wild. Picked off in center by Tampa. Here comes Cirelli, who turns back in. Cirelli looking for his center, drops it off to no man's land on Gustafsson, who sprawls out to find the puck. Minute 28 to go on the power play. Here for Tampa Bay, trying to cut the deficit to just one. Face-off controlled by Minnesota. And they'll get it out of the zone. Here's Boldy up ahead. Short-handed for the Wild. The shot sticked aside by Vasilevsky. First guy to it is Eriksson Ek. Jumped on by Gunsel, and Tampa gains control. Just over a minute to go on the power play. Radish pestered but keeps it alive. Here's Kucherov. Kucherov fires, sticked aside. The rebound controlled by Spurgeon. And he'll clear. All the way back down. We're under a minute to go on the penalty. Still a 2-goal lead for Minnesota. Gunsel up ahead to Point. 2-on-2, now 3-on-2 if they hurry. Point, a shot. Oh, tip just wide. Goes back into the trapezoid. Bogosian sends it off the side of the cage. Radish up top, Hagel. Hagel back to Radish. They play catch. Hagel pestered on the outside. Gets it all off, and Gustafsson finds the puck. 15 seconds to go on the man advantage in a 2-goal game. One final attack here for Tampa Bay on this penalty. Minnesota wins the faceoff. Faber will clear, and that's a huge PK for the Wild. Back to full strength comes Minnesota. Just under 6.5 to go in a 2-goal game. Brodin jumps on it for Minnesota. Here's Kaprizov. Kaprizov whiffed on the shot. Good stick from behind. Yurov now gets it off, and Vasilevsky deflects it off the blocker. 6 minutes to go in regulation. Paul walks it in for Tampa Bay. Drops it off for Hagel. Sends it in on Gustafsson. Tip just wide of the net. Kaprizov gains control in the corner. Minnesota can't clear. Hagel keeps it alive as he feeds it in deep. Along the near half wall for Hagel. Crozier now. A bobble for Gord off of the glove of Gustafsson. Quinn Hughes now pinned along the boards by Bjorkstrand. Over to the far side now. Minnesota finally clears. And Stroza with a bobble. Turns it over to Hagel. Hagel pinned along the boards and neutralized. Kicks it up to James. James brings it in. Gustafsson says no. Goes back behind the net. Yanni Gord now kicks it to the near side. First guy there is Quinn Hughes. And Stroza now back out to center, and Yurov. We're at the 4.5-minute mark to go. A whiff by Yurov. Good stick from behind. Yurov gets it back. Kaprizov knocked down Vasilevsky. 4:20 to go in the third. Gustafsson continues to be a brick wall in between the pipes for the Wild. Right there on the doorstep for Paul. And Gustafsson just able to get it up. What up, Tankinator? Welcome in. .420 to go, regulation time in a 2-goal game. Face-off not very cleanly controlled by Tampa Bay. Gergensen brings it in wide, looking for a center, drops it off in a whiff. Kaprizov jumps on it, back up to center. Yanni Gord can't handle it. Gergensen's now back to Gord. Zuccarello with the pester on his way in. And Minnesota turns back again. We're under 4 minutes to go. Quinn Hughes fires, save, Vasilevsky. Yanni Gord. Gergensen springs it up with a head of steam. Drops it off for Holmberg. Tried to flip it in. Good defense by Faber. And Minnesota will clear the zone again. Zuccarello. Yurov can't handle it. Gord up ahead to Cernak. Taken away by Quinn Hughes. Holmberg keeps it alive. Feeds it in back behind the net. Zuccarello there. And Minnesota will get it out once more. Under 3 minutes to go. Here's Hughes. Try to cut inside. Good defense by Tampa. Holmberg off the boards to James. He's offside. Back out to center ice it comes. Tampa jumps on it. We're under 2.5 to go in regulation. Still a 2-goal game. Faber escapes the pack. Here's Zuccarello with a bobble and a takeaway by Cernak from behind. Holmberg now will bring it up. Here's James. Gergensen's now inside. He's taken away by Faber. Tampa just cannot keep it alive. Tarasenko. Centering pass picked off by James. Under 2 minutes to go in regulation. Gergensen's up ahead. Here's Holmberg. Holmberg fires. Stick to side by Gustafsson. Goes to the far half wall. Minnesota will get it out again. Here's Zuccarello. Tarasenko now. Walks it in. Tarasenko back behind the net. Wraparound try. Denied. Vasilevsky. Minute 13 to go in regulation. And the next time Tampa Bay brings it into the offensive zone, watch for Vasilevsky to empty the net. Face off. Controlled by Tampa. Point will bring it up. Watch Vasilevsky. He's looking, and there he goes. Empty net for Tampa Bay. Extra skater in. Here for the Lightning. Boldy gains control. Up ahead, Eriksson Ek. He's bobbled before he could get a shot off. Here's Kucherov. Fires in on Gustafsson, who sticks it aside. Johansson jumps on it for the Wild. 6 skaters in for Tampa Bay. No goaltender. Boldy fires just wide of the empty net. Gunsel jumps on it for Tampa Bay. Approaching the 30-second mark. Kucherov delays for a moment. That one goes off a stick out in front. Middleton jumps on it. Turnover. Gunsel denied. Gustafsson. 23 seconds to play. Face-off control by Tampa. Radish has it deflect high off the boards and stay in play. Cirelli trying to keep it alive. Back out to the point and Radish. He fires, tipped wide and goes off the board, stays in. Final 10 seconds. Picked off by Minnesota. Up ahead, Boldy, eyeing the empty net. He scores! And Minnesota is going to get a big win here in Tampa Bay in the middle of this playoff push. A defensive gem by the Minnesota Wild. The only goal in the third period comes on that empty net goal by Matt Boldy. And Tampa Bay just could not get it past Gustafsson in between the pipes. A dominating performance defensively by Minnesota. And they win it here in Tampa Bay by a score of 4-1. Tampa Bay's lone goal came in the opening period. But Gustafsson was a brick wall in between the pipes tonight. This game ended with Tampa Bay having 46 shots on goal. Gustafsson saved 45 of them. Minnesota outshot them 50-46 to end it. And the empty net goal by Matt Boldy was the dagger with just a couple seconds left. But Minnesota controlled throughout this game. Final score, Minnesota 4, Tampa Bay 1. Good night from Tampa Bay, Florida.